This is a tech demo of my Y system and corresponding Unity project for my 471 final. My Y system consists of 4 main states, which you can see here. The first state is like a level select kind of area, and the way I have this playlist organized is there's 2 phrases for intro, which plays twice, so 4 bars total because each phrase is a bar long, and then 8 phrases in total for the main loop. And so how I have each phrase set up is that it's 2 bars long and then there's an execute, so it just kind of feeds into each other. And so then what I can do with this is that on the switch, I have a transition set for going from the state 1 playlist to the state 2 playlist that it exits the source at the execute. So it always exits the source at like the end of a segment. So I get a proper branch. And then with the transition, I have a transition segment set. So it plays a specific transition between my state 1 and my state 2. Now let's move on to state 2. State 2 is my most complicated state of the 4 states. And let's take a look at this playlist. I didn't know why it didn't load. Here we go. So the way state 2 works is it cycles between 4 chords, and each of those 4 chords is picked randomly from a list. So you can see the list here. The first chord is either 1 or 1 with sharp 11. The second chord is either flat 6, flat 3, flat 6 with sharp 11, 3 minor, or 6 minor. The third chord is either 4 with sharp 11, 4 minor, 4 major, 2 minor, or 2 add 9. And then the last chord is either flat 7 minor, 5, or 5 minor. And so it keeps cycling between these 4 chords, and in each chord it randomly picks one from the list. So every time you go down that cycle of 4 chords, every time the chord progression is different. And so each of these chords also has a few random tracks on it, so now I'll go into these. The first random track is a track for the marimba. So there are 2 different subtracks for this. There are 2 different ways the marimba can be for each chord. So I'll just play both of them for you. That's one way, and this is the other way. And so every time a chord is played, it picks either one of these 2 samples. One of them is higher, in one of them the second note is higher, and one of them the second note is lower. That's the first random track. The second random track is for the piano chords. So there's 3 different rhythms I have for the piano chords, and what I've done with the subtracks is I've done a bit of a probability simulation, because with the Wwise random subtracks, you can't actually define the weight of each subtract, so what you kind of have to do is a workaround. What I have here is this first rhythm is copied 4 times, the second rhythm is copied twice, and this third rhythm is played is put only in 1 subtrack. So what essentially this does is the first rhythm has a 4 out of 7 chance of playing, the second rhythm has a 2 out of 7 chance of playing, and the third rhythm has a 1 out of 7 chance in playing. So I've basically just simulated probabilities by making multiple copies of a subtrack. Then the flute is not a subtrack, it's just a normal track. It's the melody of the piece, and each chord has its own unique melody that I've tried to compose in a way that it flows no matter what the chords are, just so it's not jarring between any drastic chord changes or anything. Then my next random track is for a layer in the strings where the violin ones are playing a tremolo. And I've done the similar thing here with the probability simulation, where I have 1 track that has the tremolo, and then 4 other subtracks that don't have the tremolo. And so essentially, there is a 1 in 5 chance that the tremolo plays. And then for my last subtrack is for the actual string pads themselves. 2 of the tracks are with vibrato, and 1 of the tracks is without vibrato. It's the same probability simulation thing, so now 2 out of the 3 tracks, 2 out of 3 times, you get vibrato 66% of the time. The other 33% of the time, you get a non-vibrato version of the string pad. And so you'll be able to hear that later once I play that in Unity. Next is state 3. State 3 is really straightforward. State 3 is just a track that loops infinitely. This state is pretty simple. It's just the area before the boss fight, so there's nothing too fancy going on here. And then state 4 has an intro segment, as you can see here, that plays 1 time, and then a main loop that then loops infinitely, as you can see in this playlist. And the first bit of interactivity that I have here is that there is a separate track for the strings as a layer. So this track is for a boss fight, and once you hit phase 3, the strings fade in. And so I've made an event called phase 3, and when you trigger that event, the strings get faded in. Now the second bit of interactivity that I did is I had some sound effects. And so my idea was, imagine there's a crowd watching you as the boss fight happens. If you damage the boss, they do this. Kind of like a gasp, like in shock that you've damaged the boss. And then if you get damaged, they do this, they do a cheer. And so I've set up in this SFX bus, I've set up some ducking on the music so that you're able to hear the sound effects more clearly. And then the final bit of interactivity I did is that I made an event called boss death. And so when the boss dies, it does like a wind down, fade out effect. And then from there, you can just go back to state 1 and repeat the whole cycle again. And so now what I want to do is I want to showcase off the project in Unity so you can see it with the context of the video and you can see all the triggers that I've set up. So here we are in Unity. State 1 is already playing. State 1 plays on start game. And I'll just walk into the cube here so you can also see the video. So you can see the video is like just like a level select kind of area. And now at the end of each segment is an execute. So when I hit this at the end of the segment, it'll transition. And now we're in state 2. Now this chord progression will play out randomly. Now on the loop, it'll be a different chord progression. And now I can transition to state 3. There's our transition segment. Now we're in state 3. And the state is pretty simple, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. Let's go to state 4. Now I can showcase off these sound effects and ducking. Here's the hurt sound effect. And here's the boss damage sound effect, or aka the phase being done sound effect. You can hear the music gets ducked down. Now let me showcase the strings fading in. That's the phase 3 trigger. Now the final bit of interactivity is this boss dead trigger. So if I hit this, you can see that's the fade out and wind down. And now if I want to, I can go back to state 1, trigger state 1 again, and start the whole process again, and I'll show you that. So now we're back to state 1, and now you can go around again and go through the whole journey again. And yeah, that was my Y system and the corresponding Unity project. Thank you for watching my technical reel.